Welcome to the Pet Business Opportunity webinar. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to spend some time with us. I think you'll find it time well spent. My name is Gene Sower. I'm the publisher of Pet Business Opportunity, which is a membership site devoted to helping you start or grow your pet-related business. We feature webinars like this, as well as other premium content you won't find anywhere else. I'm also the president of SamsonMedia.net. We're an internet marketing company based in Montclair, New Jersey. In a few minutes, we'll be treated to an informative presentation from Vicki Lynn Morgan of Animal Brands. I just want to say, feel free to type any questions you have into the chat box you see on the right. I'll be moderating and monitoring the chat area and passing along those questions to Vicki during the presentation and during the Q&A at the end. Okay? So we'll also be recording and archiving this presentation in our members-only area of the website, so you'll be able to view it at any time since it will be just converted into a regular video. It'll probably be posted within a few days, and we'll be posting some other goodies that Vicki will be providing, some action items, and some other parts of the presentation will actually be uploaded along with the replay. So without further ado, I want to introduce our presenter for this webinar, Vicki Lynn Morgan of Animal Brands. I've known Vicki for many years, and Vicki's company, Animal Brands, is an independent manufacturer's rep. It's a manufacturer's rep agency based in New Jersey, and if you go to any of the recent H.H. Backer trade shows, you know you can usually find Vicki holding court as an expert advisor, offering one-on-one counseling to a wide variety of pet professionals. Hello, Vicki. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me today.
No problem. So here I'm going to change over my screen so that we will see your presentation, and then you can start whatever you'd like. So here I'm giving you the ball, and there we have it. Okay.
Okay, that's swell. Well, I want to thank everyone for attending today. Having chatted with a few folks earlier, before we started the program, I've learned that there are people that are planning to start a business. There are groomers in the group. There are pet retailers who are in the group. The discussion we have today on the 5 foundations for launching and sustaining your successful pet business can apply to virtually any industry or any industry within the pet trade. So it could be a manufacturer. It could be a wholesale distributor. It could be pet retail and all the various businesses within pet retailing, and it could be a service business as well. You will be able, whether you're planning to launch, relaunch, or perhaps reinvent yourself, there will be things that you can learn. There may be some things that we discussed that you will change in the way you approach your business, and there may be things that you're doing that you're not going to do anymore. So there will be a number of takeaways that I guarantee you will have from this program. In terms of our agenda, we always need to set goals for our business. We just can't step ahead and start doing things without a plan. So there have to be goals that are set, and there has to be a plan. In order to be successful today, research is critical. And in addition to researching, as one is researching, you'll be looking for a variety of information and resources. So you can see here that there's a list of 5 things that we need to be aware of. We need to know the industry. We need to know the competition. We need to know the target audience. We need to know about ourselves and what our core competencies are. And we need to know how to reach out and to get found by the target audience that we're best suited to serve. So you may want to take some notes as takeaways from this program. And we will, at the conclusion, we will answer some questions that will pertain specifically to your interests. So in terms of starting a business plan, you have to do the research beforehand. And as a manufacturer's rep, we have been approached by many companies that really have gotten into this business without putting together a plan. For example, I had a client who wanted to start a business manufacturing specialized biscuits for her dogs, and she was fortunate enough to find a nutritionist. She found a manufacturing facility. They helped her with her packaging. She ordered a vast quantity of product, had it brought to her living room, and then she came to me and wanted to know what to do next. So I pointed out that if she had had a business plan, a lot of the concerns and questions that she had would easily have been answered. So in terms of looking at a business plan structure, I have 3 slides here that I'm going to show you. These slides contain 15 different points of reference that need to be in a business plan. If you're not comfortable with the way I have this structured, you could go to the Small Business Administration, SBA.gov, or you could go to SCORE, SCORE.org, and both of those organizations have business plans that you can download and then follow in order to put your business together, your whole plan together. And by the way, a business plan may have to be adjusted from time to time as the industry and the services that you provide change. And I think the biggest part of a business plan that can change would be the marketing piece of that, because our industry is changing so quickly that we do have to adjust. So in terms of our strategic research, there are things that we need to know. We need to know about the position, our position in the marketplace. We need to know where the industry is, any characteristics or trends that are going on, trends being the humanization of pets, the all-natural type products that are out there are important to many people in this industry. Made in America is another area that's very important. So we look at the strength of certain brands in the market. We need to look at the demographics. Where are the customers located? And what are the psychographics? What's important to them? How do they make decisions? And all of this helps to guide one along in order to be successful. So we have 2 different types of research. There's primary research and we have secondary research. And I can tell you that businesses that have been around for a while, maybe 8, 10 years or more, often take their customers for granted. They think that their customers need them, and they don't realize how important it is to learn techniques to keep those customers coming back. Those are the kinds of experiences and learning experiences that you can have at a trade event. So attending trade shows, reading the publications, asking questions, knocking on doors, that is primary research. Some people do have focus groups where they bring people into a situation where they can be asked questions. Focus group could be made up of a breeder. It could be made up of the local pet shop, a feed store, a kennel, a vet, but asking questions and getting suggestions. Another way to find research and to get information would be to form what I call an informal board of directors, having a group of people that you can rely on to ask questions and to throw out ideas and get some feedback. I have people like that, and they tell me what's going on in different areas of the industry that I may not have direct access to, and it can be extremely helpful in the decision-making process. So you have to do your primary research. I met with a woman one time who wanted to open up a store in a local town here in New Jersey, and she said, well, should I go there? I said, well, walk down the street and look at the people that are there, talk to the local merchants to find out more about the people who shop in that town, find out how far they travel to get to those stores, because that would give her a clue as to whether or not she wanted to open up a pet shop in that particular town. When it comes to secondary research, we have our trade associations. The parent organization of our industry is APA, American Pet Products Association. They put out reports that you have access to, and if you read those, you can also read published reports in our trade publications, Pet Age, Pet Product News, Pet Business. They put out reports every year about the industry, and if you pay close attention to them, you may decide that, for example, if some of you have, I know that one of you is a groomer, but you may decide to handle products that complement the grooming process. Going to shows, talking to people, reading the publications, getting to know your vendors, all of this can help you to make decisions on whether or not you're going to carry certain products. Also, going back to primary research, getting to talk to your distributors, I often recommend to people that they ask their distributors whether or not there are places within the market area where they feel the business owner would be more successful geographically. A distributor as well as the manufacturers can offer advice as well. They can offer resources. They can offer shopper marketing materials, training. All of this helps in making decisions in your business. Now, within the community, there are also small business development centers. Those centers are actually funded by the federal government, the Small Business Administration, as well as individual states. And in every state, there are SBDCs, from Puerto Rico up to the state of Washington. So if you want some advice and help and support for perhaps writing a business plan, for learning techniques for money management, you can seek out an SBDC, and that can be a huge help. And of course, your library and community libraries offer resources, as do the local, state, and federal governments. So it's important that you be what I call a super sleuth. No stone goes unturned, and that research should not stop. And by the way, if you are if you decide that you're a manufacturer or a distributor, there are a lot of your competitors will have websites that list their clients, and this might be a way to build a database of contact information. So what I'm going to give you are 5 foundations into which the research you have done will fall. And the first foundation would be to know your industry. Are you serving B2B, or are you a B2C company? So you need to look at your industries specifically, the history, the profiles, the size of the industries, who are the channel partners. And this is something that I think a lot of people forget. Who helps whom? So are there channels through which products and services flow? Who exactly is the target audience, and are there subgroups? So within the pet industry, we have a lot of subgroups. We have breed clubs. We have people that do training. We have people that do therapy. I mean, the list, as you know, goes on and on and on. We also have trade associations, and there is PETA, Pet Industry Distributors Associations. We have nonprofit organizations that have events, conferences. Knowing who these organizations and people are give you an opportunity to reach out. You know where to go for information. You also want to know the competitive landscape. You also want to know the fads, the trends, the technology that's being used. And today, the internet and social media is playing a major role, as we all know, in the growth of businesses. In fact, today you have to consider yourself to be a writer and not an advertiser, because the more information that you get out there into those various channels, the better off you're going to be. The second foundation is to know the competition. And we have direct competition, but we also have indirect competition. An indirect competition might be a circumstance whereby the person said, well, if here's a story. I overheard a conversation some years ago where somebody was in a pet shop asking about bedding for their pet, and the employee in the shop said, well, you could just use newspaper, and that's an indirect competition. And the owner said to this person, are we selling newspaper? So, who is your direct competition, but are there alternatives that your target audience would have? And also, do we expect certain companies to come into the industry? And are there niches that our competitors are serving that you have missed, that you haven't really identified? And maybe those niches are actually underserved. So looking at the brands, looking at the reputations, what do people know about those competitors? What's their brand identity? And by the way, a brand identity is in the mind of the audience. You don't own your brand identity. When someone sees your name or sees your logo, they will immediately have a sense of what you're all about. It may or may not be true, but you have to do your best to maintain that positive brand identity. I have here the Porter's 5 Forces, which is a diagram and a theory that came out quite a few years ago, but it certainly applies to the pet industry because, as most of you know, there's a tremendous amount of competitive rivalry within our industry. There are products, there are substitute products. Somebody may say, well, I like what you have to offer, but I can get something that's less expensive. It's almost like what you have to offer. There may be the threat of new companies into a marketplace. I represent a product as a rep that was it actually opened up a category of business in the pet industry. Now there are many competitors trying to steal our customers. So there's always the threat of new people coming into the industry. To try to avoid this from happening, it's important that you raise the bar, that you have a differentiation, that you have an approach. There's something about your product or service that would make it difficult for someone to go someplace else to buy another competitive product. There's also bargaining power of customers. If you are just like the competitors, and the consumer thinks that your prices are similar, you have the same products and services, the consumer can say, well, I have other places I can buy this unless you give me a deal. So there is going to be some bargaining power of customers. But then again, there's also bargaining power of suppliers. If I have represented products that were one-of-a-kind products, and people will say to me, well, what's the deal? And I have to say, we don't have any competitors. So do I have to discount? I don't have. I really don't need to do that. The product stands on its own merit. So just be aware of the competitive rivalry that's out there, and you can identify this through your research. Oh dear. This is not moving along. Okay, here we go. So looking at the competition, we want to look at the profiles, see if we can identify their financials. Sometimes there is public information. Know what they're selling, what is their position in the marketplace, what is their unique selling proposition, what do they say that's special that nobody else can say. And by the way, you need to have a USP. What can you say that makes you stand out from the crowd? Because, for example, I have manufacturers who call who want us to represent them, and I'll say, well, what's in it for me to sell your products? And they'll say, well, we have the best quality, the best price, the best service, the best packaging. And I'll say, well, you have 20 competitors. It's too much trouble to represent a company that doesn't have a message. So those of you who retail want to look for products that have some very important features and benefits. And keep in mind, people buy benefits. They don't buy the features. They buy what's in it for them. So also know who the target audience is of your competitor, what niches they serve, and perhaps if you have a sense of their infrastructure, the technology, and their resources. We know that there are manufacturers out there, as well as distributors and retailers, who are not well structured. They're not good administratively. They're the ones that are going to be very vulnerable. So know your competition. So go to their website, scan advertisements, talk to people, talk to your customers, because you can gain so much information when you do some networking like that. And then look for long-term opportunities and threats within the competition as well as within the marketplace. Because, for example, there are animals that have been banned from certain states, so you've got some governmental influence here. So just keep your ear to the ground and pay attention, because within the information that you gain, you can develop an approach that will make you stand out from the crowd. Here's a graph that I brought in here. It's a product lifestyle or a life cycle graph. The reason I put this in here is as a reminder to share with you the fact that even though the marketplace may be crowded and you may feel that, gee, I've got a lot of competition out there, do I really want to do what I plan to do? Keep in mind that there is a life cycle. You may discover through your research that certain companies the owners are worn out. They're getting to an age where they want to retire. They're going to turn the business over to someone else, or perhaps they're going to go out of business. Perhaps they just have not done the marketing outreach that they should do, and they don't have good customer relationships. So there may be some competitors, even though it looks like it's a busy field to be in, they may be on the decline. So look at the life cycle of a company. How long have they been there? How do they function? How do they treat their customers? What do they have to offer? And you may find that there's definitely a hole in the market that you can fill. I know of a company here in New Jersey that went into business last year. They did a huge advertising campaign in the local newspaper. And when I saw that, I figured they're putting so much money up front, because that's what people do. They think in terms of spending money first to get the word out there, instead of doing other guerrilla tactics. And by the way, as a sidebar, I'm going to be doing a session on guerrilla marketing next month, so pay attention to the emails that Jean sends out. But that company, I just heard the other day, is on the decline. So they put all their eggs in a basket up front, and they may not make it, especially because there's some other retailers in that market who are successful. So the third foundation is to know your target audience well. And of course, who do you want to serve? Who are they? What are their needs? Do you have what it takes to serve them? If you don't solve a problem, you don't have a business. So what are the needs and the wants? What's the pain and the urgency that your target audience has? And do you have products and services that meet those circumstances? Can they afford to do business with you? Know where they hang out. Do they belong to breed clubs? Do they belong to community associations in the neighborhood? Do they go to networking events? I can tell you that I do a lot of networking in the general business community here in New Jersey. I never see a pet industry professional at a networking event. It drives me nuts. Why is it that pet industry professionals don't do local networking, and yet something like 58% of households have a pet? It just absolutely does not make sense. So understand the target audience and determine the best ways to reach them and to attract them. This is a graph that I show often to clients that are not sure how to identify their target audiences. And without going into a whole lot of detail, I will briefly explain this graph. The horizontal line represents anybody who needs, wants, and can afford what you have to offer. It could be within a business category. It could be within a geographic area. But within that geography or within that category, there are companies that fall into very, very well-defined categories. And I'll give you an example. I have represented a line of grooming scissors, and the company doesn't want to sell to groomers. So we have identified our target audiences as people who know people. So the verticals in this particular exercise include grooming schools. It includes people that do scissor sharpening. It includes the mail order catalogs, because we know groomers buy from mail order catalogs, like Pet Edge, for example. And then the fourth one would be, let's see, the small distributors who are local, who deliver bows and shampoos and the like. So if you're not sure who your target audience is, first start with a horizontal approach. Identify geographically or within a category, and then look at categories that are significant. If you've been in business for a while and you want more customers, then go back and look at the clients that you have. Now, I met with somebody the other day who's been in business for 8 or 9 years, and just now they're beginning to keep a list of the people that walk in the store. So they don't know exactly who the people are, what the zip codes they come from are, and they don't know, their interests. Do they have German Shepherds? Do they have Poodles? I mean, if they knew that, they would be able to say, okay, I have a lot of German Shepherds or large breeds that come in here. I'm going to reach out for and focus my marketing on those groups of people. So know your target market. This visual came from a book entitled Crossing the Chasm by Jeff Moore. This is in here to point out a couple things. Sometimes it's hard to get to the audience that we want to serve, which would be the center of our bell curve. So it's important to find what are called innovators and adopters. These are people who are enamored by new ideas. They have certain interests and they speak to a community of people that will be influenced. So if you can connect with people who are perhaps they head up clubs, maybe they're involved with the nonprofit organizations, maybe you know some speakers and they know a lot of people. But if you can find innovators and adopter type people, and you could do some more research on this, the book is called Crossing the Chasm. This may give you some ideas on where to focus in order to get some word of mouth, which is really what we're talking about. Another area that I have here, this is called the long tail, and it's a concept that was developed by Chris Anderson, the editor of Wired magazine. I don't know if he still is, but he was, and he wrote a book on this topic. I think that the long tail concept really challenges the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule, if some of you know about it, is that you'll spend 80% of your time with the 20% of your customers that do the most business with you. Or you'll stock 20% of the products, a lot of the 20% of the products that bring in 80% of your revenue. I use this graph to point out the people that are reaching for customers, that if you spend all your time in the red section, this would be the 20% of your business that does 80% of your revenue. And if you ignore all of the smaller accounts down in here, if you lose somebody in the red area, you lose business opportunities, and you don't have, and you're not aware of other people who could potentially become your customers, then I think you could be out of business. And I know people that represented in the rep agencies. They represented A product lines. They were selling them to the A distributors, and when they lost those opportunities, they were out of business. So please pay attention to all the possibilities. I know it's more work, but if you pay attention to the opportunities that are out there, you will be able to sustain your business and grow. Now, foundation number 4 would be to know yourself. And some of you may be familiar with the SWOT analysis. And if not, you might want to look it up, read up about it. But know your SWOT. Know what your strengths are, because you can build on those. But if you have weaknesses, they could do you in. So look for the strengths. If you're good at customer service, if you're good at identifying products that will help your customers, then let them know about that. But if you don't identify them, that could be a weakness for you. If you see opportunities in the marketplace, you can build on those. But if you don't take advantage of the opportunities, your competitors may, and that becomes a threat to you. So that's a little bit of homework for you. Study SWOT analysis and how to structure it. And this may give you a clue that you need to take some courses, for example, or attend seminars. And actually locally within your chambers of commerce and other local organizations, there are always lists of speakers that you can hear that will help you grow your business. When I say know yourself, I have a full circle system. There are 13, I call these the 13 Ps. Anybody who's taken marketing courses has heard of the 4 Ps, product, place, price, and promotion. I have actually 13 here. And when it comes to knowing yourself, and I'm going to give you this in the work pad, in the action plan, so you can see them, but later on. But be aware of how well you're doing with addressing all of the points in this list. Also, are you relevant to the consumer? And I think today it's important to be able to dominate in some way, and it's also important to differentiate your business in some way. So, but you also have, your audience also expects you to be on par with under certain circumstances. So do you dominate in quality or value or service? Or how convenient are you? Can people reach you? Do you give them choices to get hold of you? And then finally, do you create a wonderful opportunity for your audience? And how fascinating are you? So think about where you can strive to really develop your approach with your customers. Because if you're just like the next person, and they know the other person better than they know you, they're not going to do business with you. And then foundation 5 of 5 is know how to reach your target market. So how do you get to the people? Again, who are they and where do they hang out? Do they read certain publications? Do they join certain organizations? And you need to be there. Now, a new concept in marketing is called Inbound Marketing Game Plan. And this is your homework. Look up Inbound Marketing Game Plan online. There's an e-book you can read, and that e-book will teach you how to utilize your online opportunities. The fourth column here that you see has some of this is offline, so getting involved with local communities. And I've just listed here some of the, I'm not going to go through this, but the four categories that you saw on the game plan diagram talks about leads and loyalty objectives. It talks about getting found, because you want people to knock on your door. This is very important. It's hard to find customers. Sometimes it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. So it gives you tips on social media. It gives you tips on content marketing. It talks about public relations. You can look up all of this yourself. So that's another bit of homework. Look up Inbound Marketing Game Plan ebook. Now, once you've decided what you're going to do for your outreach, a nice way to assemble your game plan, so to speak, is to create an Excel spreadsheet that has on the left-hand column all the various endeavors that you're going to engage in, and then you can check off by month when you're going to do those things. Because for outreach, which is, if you can't be found, you're not going to nobody's going to do business with you. You have to have multiple exposures so that people can find you, and you have to give them reasons to want to do business with you. So if you can build an Excel spreadsheet like this, put the tactics on the left-hand column, and then check off by month when you're going to do those things. And you would use this as your guide and your game plan, but you would also give this to anyone who works for you. So your action plan, really as a result of what we've talked about here, would be to set your goals. What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to sustain your business as it is? Do you want to grow it? Do you want to launch something new? You need to work on that business plan template, and you need to look at it periodically. And within the business plan is a marketing plan, which that will probably change more than the business plan itself. You do your homework. I have here the 5 no's, and then update all of this as needed, as the industry changes or as you identify new opportunities. So here we have, in a quickie nutshell, all the things that are very important to your business, and I hope that these will give you the guideline that you can modify and use for your own respective businesses. So, Gene, do we have any questions at this point?
We do. So I'm going to just switch back over presenters. And we do have a question from Karen. Wants to know if you could speak briefly about any current and future trends in the pet industry. I know that's a very broad question, but well, I guess it speaks for itself. What are some hot trends and future trends?
Well, the publications will address these from time to time, but obviously we've had the humanization of pets. So that in itself is a trend. We're seeing products and foods all mirroring the human side of industry. So I would look at those opportunities. I'm beginning to wonder if the boutique business will continue to be as successful. There was a growth area, but with the economy, that may be that may be declining somewhat, and there may be folks that have some opinions on that. But of course, the trends in using technology are extremely important. Also, I think there's a trend in using social media, social media and cause-related marketing to get to build awareness for the business. So be a publisher, be found places, and all of this will help because there are so many people coming into this industry, and you've got competition. There's not a one of us that doesn't have competition. If we don't stand out from the crowd, we're going to lose because there are people that want to, steal business away from us. So I really probably haven't answered it in its entirety, but I would say read the publications to see what they have to offer.
Okay. I mean, I remember, the hot trend, like you said, like 2 years ago was the whole boutique thing, which I think has kind of crested and is subsiding.
Yeah. And also all natural things. When IAMS, one thing that always amazed me, when IAMS went into the grocery stores, everybody knew that this was going to happen. And there were stores adjacent to grocery stores that just continued continued as usual. And all of a sudden, IAMS was available in the grocery stores, and the stores in those strip malls either went out of business or they probably lost some revenue as a result of it.
Yeah.
The stores that knew that this was coming down the pike were able to source some of the local, some of the U.S.-made, all natural type of supplements and foods, and they stayed alive and well.
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, a trend that I'm seeing is in my local Pathmark here in New Jersey, they actually now have a refrigerated pet food section in the pet aisle, where they're selling, the actual fresh dog food and fresh dog treats that need to be refrigerated.
Yes.
Which was interesting. And I look at the ingredients. I was very impressed, I have to say. It was, it's all natural ingredients and stuff that I've actually bought and fed my own dogs. And
right.
Anyway, I have another question here.
Before you ask me, also
okay.
made in America is very important. There are more and more people that come by our booths at the trade shows and say, "Is this made in the United States?" And they want proof.
Well, especially of all the Chinese recalls of all the jerky treats and all the chicken. Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing. We've stopped buying anything that's made in China now. Any of the treats.
Right.
It just seems like another day, another recall.
Okay.
But, somebody wants to know if they're just starting out, money's tight, they realize they have to spend something. Is there a realistic minimum amount?
It's going to depend upon amount of spending for starting up the store.
Yep, a business, just marketing.
Yeah. Oh, for marketing or for actually startup? For marketing. Marketing, typically you'll see 3 to 5% of gross revenue. Unfortunately, a new business probably doesn't have a lot of revenue. So I recommend guerrilla marketing, which starts with not spending any money at all. So those who are starting up or those who want to avoid having to set aside a large budget for marketing and outreach should attend my program next month, because we'll talk about that.
Okay. Joy has a question here. If she says she runs into a stumbling block when researching products online because most wholesale websites require a tax ID or business ID to register. Should I register my business first before I even have a location?
You can register the business up front. I typically would say be sure that you've worked on your business plan, you know what you want to do, and you can register a business within seconds and be up and running officially. But if it means getting your foot in the door with a wholesaler, then perhaps you're going to have to do it. You would register with both the state and the federal governments to get your EIN numbers.
Yeah, you're going to need that anyway, right? You're
going to need it anyway. There are people that are hesitant about whether or not they're really going to go through with a business, and to start it and stop it becomes it's an annoyance more than anything.
Yes.
But yeah, if that's what it takes, I go for it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you're going to start an LLC, there's I think it's $150, and renewal is $50 a year, at least in New Jersey. I don't know about the other states, but there would be an investment, but it's not going to be tremendous.
Absolutely. And this is one of the questions I get a lot on our website is basically, do I need to license my business? And I tell people, registering the business and licensing the business are two different things, right?
Right.
Licensing it might be, again, you might be doing land improvements, you might be doing doggy daycare, in which case there might be, noise ordinances, signage issues. But registering the business, you're going to need that in order to get a business checking account. And like you said, in New Jersey, it's $50. So you need to register the business either using an LLC or a DBA, doing business as, and it's like the first. It's like A even before 1. You know what I'm saying? It's so it can't hurt to do it.
Yeah, that's correct. And now, in some municipalities, they will require that if you're a sole proprietorship that you get registered, but not if you're an LLC. So just check with your local county to see what their rules are.
Okay. And then I had one more I think we have time for. I have a pet sitting business. What do you think about advertising in my local newspaper?
Good question. First of all, if you know your target audience and who they are and where they hang out, advertising in a newspaper may be what I call throwing it against the wall to see what sticks. If you know that your audience is going to see that advertisement or whatever the endeavor might be that you're spending money on, go for it. But if you're not sure, are you just throwing money against the wall? And a lot of people do that. I would say the first step is to get known within the community, connect with the pet shops, with the vets, with the trainers, any of those niche and subgroups within the industry so that they know who you are, offer to support them and ask them to support you first. Get involved with cause-related marketing endeavors. Get free press releases. The post office now does have direct mail programs. There may be neighborhoods that you could go into on a direct basis. However, you'd be better off if you could contact the municipalities and see if they have the dog registrations. Now, if you have cats, some communities don't. Most of them don't register cats. So I think the first thing is who's the audience and where do you think they're going to see you? You could talk to other advertisers to see how successful they have been. But I've had personal experiences where somebody advertised in a Valpak, and when I made the phone call, they say, well, we don't go to that area. So people that have advertised through some of these mass advertising programs, they're not getting their money's worth. So really talk to people, do your homework before you make the decision to spend the money. But create an undercurrent of awareness before you do, because whatever you do will support that advertising that costs you money.
Right. And I often recommend to people, too, if you're going to be doing traditional media like newspapers or Valpak, is to have some kind of offer, and even if you did Yellow Pages, which I do think is sort of a waste of money, is to have some kind of call to action that drives them to your website where you can have a data capture strategy in place so that you can actually capture a certain percentage of visitors that you generate through these offline media.
That's exactly right. In fact, they say that most marketing and advertising endeavors don't have a call to action. So a call to action could be go to the website and sign up for a newsletter, go to the website and get a coupon that you can copy and give to your friends.
Exactly.
There are any number of...
Like a pet sitter could do free housebreaking tips at our website, rather than, I don't think a lot of people on this phone call have the money to just burn on branding,
Right. Yeah, so call to action. If you're marketing a message, whether it's a postcard, it's an online presence, whatever it is, there has to be a call to action because you want people to knock on your door. You don't know who really needs, wants, and can afford what you have to offer in most instances. And this way, the people will indeed surface.
Okay. Well, I think that just about covers it for today. I'd like to thank you very much, Vicki, for spending the time and presenting that today. I think people found it very informative. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback in the chat window here, so thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say that we will put together an action sheet that will contain a lot of the bullet points that were mentioned in this program today, and I hope that people don't mind me putting their name on my mailing list. If not, they can let me know. If they don't want to be on my list, I'll send them a note. And also, let's see, next month we're doing guerrilla marketing. And then finally, as a business mentor and coach, I do offer about a 15, 20-minute free assessment if someone would like to take advantage of that to see whether or not they need more help. And I also have assessment forms that I can give them that they can complete, and that will give them a sense as to what they really need to focus on.
Yeah, one of the people here had typed in a very specific question about their business that I think would be perfect for you, because it's really very specific to their situation. So we'll do follow-up afterwards. So thank you very much. Vicki, if you could just stick around after we're done, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, let me just wrap it up. So thanks very much, everybody, for joining us. This is the end of the webinar. Please watch for our next series of webinars. Vicki will be back next month talking about some guerrilla marketing. We'll also be featuring a two-part webinar from Colette Fairchild. She's the Director of Trade Shows for H.H. Backer, which you've probably heard of. They do the Big Backer Trade Show this year in Chicago coming up. She'll be talking about the ins and outs of trade shows, both from an exhibitor's perspective and as an attendee's perspective. So again, thank you very much for joining us, and check us out online, and we'll be posting the replay and some handouts that Vicki will be providing. Thank you very much.